That's it, hold it, hold it. Damn it.
6,
Back,
7,
that's it, hold it.
8,
steady.
9.
Shut down.
Ah, Hollywood movies. This is where the big money comes to make a fool of itself.
I feel like Oprah on hiatus.
The biggest crapshoot industry in the world. The figures are simply mind-boggling. The average studio movie this week grossed $35 million. Next week, who knows? And on top of that, they plunked down about another $15 million per show on promotion and advertising.
Casper. Catch him on May 26th.
In fact, the business of promoting movies is a huge industry all unto itself. So what if there was a distribution system that was already in your home or in your office or your school, and suppose Hollywood could promote its movies on it? And suppose that distribution system was part of a network which is already being used by more than 40 million people around the world and growing by 1 million people a week. What do you think would happen when Hollywood discovered there was life on the internet?
Can I keep you?
Will never be the same.
Cool.
In a network of computers, it's not the MIPS and chips and whatnot that's most important. It's what goes on between the people using them that makes them really powerful. A reminder from Sun Microsystems, proud to support this PBS program.
One, please. Hi, I'm Scott Simon. Before we're swept into a celluloid world of fiery kisses and lingering car chases, Hollywood has already spent millions of dollars to lure us into the theater. They tell us in here, on posters and in previews, on our televisions, radios, and in rental videos, in our newspapers and magazines. Now filmmakers have discovered a shiny new medium that's reaching millions of people every day, and a new form of interactive advertising has come to life on the internet.
If Hollywood has taught the world anything, it is that to survive in show business, you first have to get the public's attention. That isn't easy in Hollywood or anywhere else. There's a lot of competition for the dollar out here, and you have to start by being noticed. For in the movie business and a lot of other businesses, if you can't get people's attention, it's tough to make them part with their money. Which is why Hollywood is particularly interested in what's going on here. It's not Beverly Hills, it's not Malibu, it's not even West Hollywood. Like the studios before them, this company is in Culver City, a place where the rent is reasonable and space is available, which they need because business is growing. This is the corporate head office of a small company called Digital Planet, who are carving a niche for themselves in the big money of movie promotion and advertising by building internet websites for Hollywood movies. Like many others who come to Hollywood, Josh Greer from Toronto wanted to become a movie producer. To begin his climb up the studio structure, he got a job in the publicity department of Universal Pictures. Not as fabled as the mailroom, but a place to begin. And then, like most people who end up striking it rich here, Josh Greer would find himself in the right place at the right time. For Josh Greer knew a little bit about computers.
I was definitely one of the hacker babies. I had my first computer, I think, when I was about 11. And by the time I was 13, I was building Apple II clones for my friends. When I was 15, I started working in electronic publishing, or actually what was to become electronic publishing. I worked for a company where we had to actually convert a hot metal printing press to an electronic facility. And I did that from about 15 to 18. Retired from the computer industry at that point because I was feeling pretty burnt out and also very frustrated at the time. It was a bit of a lull in the technology at that point. I really didn't come back to it strongly till I got out to LA and in with Universal Pictures. Although I had always been, every job I had done, I was always using computers for one aspect or another. It's always been a tool for me.
So when Universal wanted to build an interactive press kit for a movie about computers called Sneakers, Josh Greer in the publicity department was available to work on it. The Sneakers interactive press kit was only for movie reviewers, but some of the younger minds around Hollywood realized they could take the process one major leap forward.
It doesn't mean
losing the thread of where you were before.
Once we do that, then we won't need TV anymore.
Exactly.
They could build interactive movie kits, not only for the press, but for the rest of us. They could build them, and we would come. And the studios would pay. So young Josh Greer stopped thinking about being just another struggling movie producer and left Universal. But in an industry where indecision is an art form, Hollywood wasn't exactly rushing towards the internet, and asking them to put up money for the first site was not an easy sales pitch.
I think it was more fear of the unknown. Most of the executives who were doing it at the time really had no understanding not only of just what the net was or what CompuServe was or any of the online services, but who was actually out there. No one knew if there was enough people out there to really make an impact. It's taken a little while to show that there really is an audience. I mean, before we came along, there wasn't a heck of a lot of entertainment on the web. And when we first came in, when we first started pitching this stuff, people were saying, no one's interested. The web is scientific community. It's, you know, geeks, it's education, it's hackers, not really sort of general consumers.
Josh and his partners persevered and finally did convince one of the studios to commission their first website. The movie was Stargate.
On October 28th,
I'm here in case you succeed.
2 men will discover the key to open it.
The site was very basic, essentially putting the promotional material from the studio onto the World Wide Web. While Stargate didn't do quite as well at the box office as its producers had hoped, the website was a big hit. Josh Greer had arrived in Hollywood.
Stargate, rated PG-13.
After Stargate came out and the articles came out afterwards, the floodgates opened and we were just overwhelmed. Not overwhelmed, we were bombarded, really, with people wanting to come online. By the time we brought MCA online with Universal Pictures, we were getting between 30 and 50 calls a week from people wanting us to produce sites. And we quickly grew into what is now 32 people, and will probably double in the next 2 or 3 months in terms of a production staff as well as creative team.
Thomas Lakeman worked with Josh in the publicity pit at Universal. Now he's a senior vice president at Digital Planet and helping to find web promotion Hollywood style.
We think of creating a website as anything that happens on the web is really a form of one-to-one communication, which is one of the great strengths of the web, is that it connects people. What we're doing with a website is we're really building a bridge between the people who are providing a message, which is, in this case, the motion picture studio, and the end user. The difference is this, unlike conventional advertising, in which the message is one-to-many, in other words, you don't know who ultimately is going to be seeing this, you just try to make it as broadband as possible. In the case of the website, the person, the end user is requesting the information, so they're coming to you, so it's a lot more like information or advertising or entertainment on demand, which means that you can create a message with an individual person in mind.
And do an explosion. And then he had a little gif of...
What they're doing here at Digital Planet is as close to Hollywood's heart as you can get. Hollywood's heart, as you know, is the place just below its wallet. For behind all the computers and all the eager young faces and creative talent, this is simply the art of hype, of promotion. But as Thomas Lakeman likes to point out, it's different from any way they've hyped before.
Okay, Apollo 13 was Ron Howard's picture about the ill-fated Apollo 13 mission, true story. We had an assignment from the studio. They wanted us to make it exciting, and they wanted to get people hooked into, you know, the history. They wanted to see the whole experience, but they just said, don't make it a history lesson. You know, in other words, let people get really jazzed about the drama of this whole thing. And at the same time, we wanted to get people hooked into the whole process of making the film. I talked about that depth of information that people have to have. Well, one thing is, we created what's called an interactive documentary. It allows people to browse through key moments from the film. We did it in 3 stages, you know, get it, rocket, 3 stages. And at the center of every screen is an image from the movie itself. You can click on that and download a clip from the film. Then all these other icons in the interface relate to different perspectives on that one moment. Ron Howard, the director, we did a 2-hour original interview with him, and he was our guide through the making of the film, and he talked about in great detail how every scene that we include here was shot. You also see a historical perspective. You can get actual original audio of the real Jim Lovell talking, the original astronauts. You can see the actors will talk about their roles. There's technical and historical perspectives. That really plays out very well when you're talking about some of the key scenes of the movie, one of which was the launch. It's a really interesting moment in the movie. It's a very pivotal moment when the rocket's finally on its way to the moon. At one point, the character says, there's nothing routine about flying to the moon. We wanted to show people why there's nothing routine about flying to the moon. So what we do is we start with, at the center of the whole thing, the actual launch sequence from the film. I'll just give it to you here. I've already got it cached up, so we don't have to download it. It's like a cooking show. They always have everything prepared.
3, 2, 1. Ignition. Liftoff. Houston, we have cleared the tower in 1313.
Okay, guys, we got it.
So a lot goes into that moment.
Thank you. Universal Pictures.
For most of us, downloading this quality of sound and picture over the internet can take some time, but that will improve with the speed of connection. The bandwidth gets faster, giving us immediate access to Apollo missions or a friendly ghost or who knows what. But they're now preparing programming which will change the whole nature of the net.
I'm gonna be alive.
Episodic, interactive documentaries, original content TV shows, everything from soap operas to dramatic specials, gaming environments, really the whole ball of wax. We're still inventing it. I mean, that's the most exciting thing about what we're doing right now. Every day is like uncharted waters for us. We're constantly having to come up with new ideas, and frankly, we don't know all the things that are going to come out. Every week we come up with something new and we keep sort of expanding the direction for us. So it's very hard right now to look 6 months in the future and say this is where we're going to be, because 6 months ago, you know, where we thought we would be here, we're actually way up here, and it just continues to go like that. We're just skyrocketing right now.
When we started Digital Planet, we started thinking the internet actually allows us to reach a consumer audience, and they're the people who are going to be going to see the movie, so those are the people that you want to hit. And I got very excited about the possibility of seeing this as an entertainment medium. I view entertainment as anything that communicates information in a compelling and engaging way. It's not just little games that have no function, like, you know, you click here and Casper says boo. It has to serve the function of involving you deeper in the experience of the movie. So I got very excited about the possibility of using entertainment to sell entertainment. And really, our websites are becoming more and more like programming all the time.
Here is ABC Science Editor Jules.
Why this is particularly intriguing if you're interested in the internet is that much like the very early days of television, the net was originally created as a way to provide information. And now, like television in its adolescence, the net is running with its arms outstretched toward show business. The library of the internet has opened wide its doors, and Hollywood has rushed in.
I think we crossed a point about March with a site for Tank Girl, where we really created sites that weren't just marketing and advertising, they were entertainment in their own right. As we've evolved that, looking at sites like Casper, Apollo 13, and getting into the new stuff for sites like Burn Cycle, we've actually made the decision to split the company into two distinct business units. We will have Digital Planet Marketing and Advertising, which will be the core business we are doing now, but as well we're going to be producing original entertainment for the web, a whole new type of entertainment that is solely for that audience. It's not television, it's not film, it's entertainment, it's original entertainment, but only for this medium.
Over at Universal Studios, on the surface at least, celluloid life continues unabated. This is the floor in the promotion department, where they prepare the trailers, which will entice us to come back next week and spend another $6.50.
Waterworld, rated PG-13.
They've been promoting movies this way since Hollywood was a housing development.
So I go through the kitchen, across the living room, into the bedroom, get the mechanical rooster, and bring it out to you.
Downstairs, they're working on traditional poster and advertising designs, some aimed at us, others geared to theater owners who may have missed out on booking a hit movie the first time around. But here, in this humble little space in the basement, is the World Wide Web room. The place where studio employees can monitor the use and update the movie websites they've commissioned from Digital Planet and other companies that are springing up. Hollywood has started taking cyberspace seriously. Perhaps because they know within a couple of years, spending on the internet, including hardware and software and people like Digital Planet, is expected to exceed $4 billion. And a chunk of that will probably be spent by the Vice President in charge of publicity at Universal, Alan Sutton.
We've had tremendous success with our online campaigns, specifically this past summer with Apollo 13, Casper, and Waterworld. In terms of numbers, we were attracting upwards of 300,000 people over a 12-week period, which resulted in over 5 million dedicated impressions.
What's a dedicated impression?
That is recorded by either the number of pages you access, the number of sound files you download, or the number of video clips you access. So it's a combination of things. So what it indicates is people are not only coming to the internet in bigger numbers, but they're spending more and more time going through our content.
Universal got about somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 million committed impressions over the course of the summer with Apollo 13 from about, probably say almost 500,000 people. Now, in terms of advertising, in terms of broadcast, that doesn't seem like it compares, but when you consider the fact that every one of those people came in, chose to come in, came there because they wanted to be there, and stayed long enough to go through the whole thing, you realize you're talking about a very dedicated person there at that point.
The great thing about online users is that they're coming to us. They are requesting information about our product. So it's incumbent upon the studios, once they have these eyes, that they can continue to build a loyal following and get them coming back. And of course, the way to do that is to continually update and freshen the material you're putting up on the web, rather than just have a collection of maybe individual campaigns for a movie. Our goal is to create a sustainable destination whose popularity will be based on a variety of features than just one individual film.
So Hollywood has already typecast the web as technology that belongs in the promotion department, but Josh Greer is planning what he sees as the next logical step, when Digital Planet will start to compete with the studios and actually produce and distribute a new generation of programs on the internet.
We see ourselves now really being leaders in entertainment and really sort of taking that one step forward and actually creating a digital studio, a real entertainment medium. But the scary part for the studios is the fact we can produce entertainment for about 1/10 of the cost as what traditional entertainment is produced for. So we think we're going to have a very powerful tool for creating new product in the next coming years.
Hollywood has bought into the internet. The signs are everywhere. The net is suddenly trendy, for the studios have realized that the web can reach the fans where they live and draw us into a whole new level of movie advertising.
The frequent moviegoers, one thing we know about them is that they're really into movies. They have to know absolutely everything about a film. You know, they're what we'll call completists. And you can have Tom Hanks completists, and you can have Steven Spielberg completists, and they just can't be satisfied until absolutely every single Darth Vader clip from Star Wars is on their hard drive at home. And they want to complete the experience as much as possible. The more you give them, the more you make a loyal fan out of that person. And that can translate into box office dollars. It also translates into opinions, because those people have something else in common. They're very vocal about the things that they like and don't like. And if you've won the loyalty of one of these opinion makers over the web, you can translate that into lots of positive word of mouth over a very broad spectrum.
And of course, in the true Hollywood style, as it has become more successful, the price has gone up.
When we did Stargate, it wasn't even $10,000. It was a lot less than that. Now we see the sites ranging from about $30,000 to $150,000 for the movie studios. Again, depending on the scope. We're working with various studios now to create ongoing deals so that throughout the year you have consistent content constantly coming online, and those types of deals will be much larger numbers for regular content.
For 100 years, he has wandered the halls of Whipstaff Manor, hoping.
Just how far this technology is going to take us is an interesting supposition. For when the bandwidth increases, you'll be able to get movies and television shows, not just the promotional material, but the real thing piped through the internet.
Can you go invisible? That one's easy.
The computer will become your television set, and your television set will become your connection to the internet. And when the big market forces move full steam ahead into cyberspace, it's all going to come down once more to a battle for who gets our attention. So we're back to the promotion business again, with the people who are convinced that the web can give us more information on movies and movie stars than anything we've ever had before.
Here's one other moment in the film that's very pivotal. I'll just show you this just to give you some kind of an example. When we interviewed Ron Howard, this is the moment where he is facing the moment he'll never get to land on the moon.
Coming up on Mount Maryland. Jim, you got to take a look at this. I've seen it.
And that's where our website ends. Just to give you one example, that was a very surprising moment, because when we did our interview with Ron Howard and he talked about this moment in the film, it's the moment when Jim Lovell, the hero, realizes he's not going to get to land on the moon. Ron Howard said, well, you know, that scene is what convinced Tom Hanks to do the motion picture. Now, that did not show up anywhere else. It was not in any of his other interviews. It's only because we've been talking for 2 hours, managed to get Ron to open up, and he started talking about a lot of things that never wound up in conventional publicity. So you can literally get information here that you can't get anywhere else.
I think the whole multimedia revolution has been a real bonanza for the general public. By incorporating sound, text, graphics, and downloadable video clips, we've been able to give people a rare behind-the-scenes look at how movies are made. At the same time, it's becoming very empowering for consumers in that now they can base their decision on what movie to see with a lot more information at their disposal than they can ever get from a 30-second TV commercial or a newspaper ad. So I think it's very important from that standpoint that it's given consumers another tool to be able to make an informed choice about how they spend those ever more precious entertainment dollars.
But just when you think that big business in Hollywood is taking over the internet, the net itself provides some comic relief. This is the website which was prepared for the movie Hackers, which was a melodrama about computer hackers Hollywood style. But someone or some group didn't think much of hackers, and they hacked the site. They put up a rival site saying, to be kind, that perhaps Hackers wasn't such a great movie after all. In the Hollywood tradition that it doesn't matter what they say about you, as long as they spell your name right, Hollywood was delighted. So they promoted the hack site in the press and then put a link to it on the web from the original site, proclaiming that the makers of the movie Hackers had themselves been hacked. And right about now, the hacked site is getting more attention than the original one. Only in Hollywood, and only in life on the internet. I'd like to show you something. We found a quick way to take a tour of the big Hollywood studios. It's here on the World Wide Web at a site called MovieWeb. Clicking on any one of these logos will link you to the major sites of studios. There's a section where we can look at previews of upcoming movies.
I can get that medicine through.
You can even express an opinion about films you've seen. Let's see, the scale goes all the way from awesome way down to I can't believe I didn't walk out of that one. Now, speaking of tours, you might try this one when you visit this site. The World Wide Web movie database. It's a massive territory with 750,000 listings about actors, titles, screenplays, and storylines. Now here, for example, is a site on one of my favorite directors, Billy Wilder. I also want to show you this. It's called Links to Movie Resources. It's one of the biggest lists about movies that we've discovered on the web. There are links to newsgroup discussions about movies. There are sites for screenwriters and links related to the Academy Awards. Now, a word of caution. This page alone could take an entire day out of your life on the internet. We have links to all of these sites and others about movies listed at our own website. So if you have access to the World Wide Web, here's how you can find us. http://www.pbs.org. Until next time, I'm Scott Simon.
In a network of computers, it's not the MIPS and chips and whatnot that's most important. It's what goes on between the people using them that makes them really powerful. A reminder from Sun Microsystems, proud to support this PBS program.
This is PBS.